Thank you very much, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone, and delighted to be invited again to Korea Maritime Week. So I will be presenting under this title, as mentioned, the missing link in data exchange. So we are talking, of course, here about digitalization in the maritime domain. But what does this really mean? Because this could actually mean many different things. You could have a ferry traveling between two different ports, the entirety of its existence, and the ports and the ferry could arrange for digital solutions to be made for this very ferry, these very ports, not standardized solution, but customized solution to this specific area, this specific ferry, these specific ports, which of course is digitalization of the maritime domain. But what is more important is, of course, the ability of strangers, so to speak, to be able to exchange digital information. A ship coming into the port for the first time, not having been able to participate in any local digital development there. So they would be relying on standards to be able to exchange information with the ports or any other local stakeholders. So that is the important aspect of digitalization of the maritime domain. That is the development of the necessary standards to be able to exchange information. So how are we doing in this field? And I know there are different digitalization initiatives being conducted in different areas of the world and in different organizations. I know most about the e-navigation initiative that was started by IMO in around 2006. And in particular in this initiative, there has been a lot of focus mainly on data harmonization. We have the suite of S100 product specifications that are being developed. At this stage, I think there have been identified 34 different product specifications that are being developed and are now in different stages of maturity. And IMO have been developing the IMO Compendium on Facilitation and Electronic Business. So this is about data harmonization, about making data models for things we want to be able to exchange. But there's not been as much focus on the actual data exchange itself. So we have within e-navigation the maritime services that we have been talking about since the dawn of e-navigation for a very long time. And we have the product specifications that came along a little later. For instance, we have one of the maritime services, maritime service number 5, maritime safety information. And belonging to that, we have S124, one of the different product specifications. And this gives us a data model for data warnings, or for navigational warnings, sorry. So MS5 provides a high-level description of the provision of maritime safety information, but it does not give us any information how data exchange should actually work in practice. And S124 provides a data model and portrayal information, but also does not define how data is exchanged. So this could work. We could put our S124 data on a USB stick, get on a rowing boat, sail out to new ships arriving, give them the USB stick, put it in the ECDIS, and voila, we have the navigational warnings. That is such a bad idea on so many levels. So of course, that is not the way we want it to work. So what we need is a description of the data exchange itself. In IMO resolution MSC 467-101, we have a description of the maritime services, how they should be made. And we have associated technical services that uses data models from the product specifications. So these are the technical services that actually describes how the data should be exchanged. So within this IMO guideline, there is a mentioning of a template for maritime services. So we know how maritime services should look, what template they should follow. New maritime services are being developed. I know that IALA is working on a proposal for a new maritime service for ATONs. And we have the link to product specifications following S100. But what about the technical services? They are also mentioned briefly in this IMO resolution, where there's a template for technical services. However, IALA has developed a comprehensive guideline on how to make technical services called G1128. And this is beginning to be used. IHO is now working on, if we're taking the example of maritime safety information, they are now working on a technical service following the IALA guideline 1128 for provisioning of navigational warnings. So the status is we have a lot of product specifications being developed, and thereby harmonization of data taking place, which is great. We need that. That is a prerequisite for doing further digitalization. But technical services and technical service specification are only emerging at this stage. As mentioned, we have one being developed for navigational warnings. IALA is also working on making technical services for ATONs, two different flavors of technical services for that, following two different product specifications. There's an IAC standard for voyage information, not quite finalized yet. I believe there's also being developed a technical service for reporting, and there may be some more, but we definitely are only in the early stages of developing the technical services that we need in order to facilitate the exchange of data in the maritime domain. And we need new ways of doing things. We have been doing it in different ways, like Navtex previously, and we are going into new ways of doing this. Using the internet will be a big game changer for that, giving us a host of new ways and existing tools and existing standards that we can use once we start to use the internet technology for this. But we need to define more technical services. And of course, me being me, I wouldn't miss mentioning the MCP, because once we have the technical services defined, it will indeed be possible to exchange digital information between anybody in the maritime domain. But we need something else. And IALA has recently developed a new guideline that are diving into what other items that we need, a digital infrastructure that provides other things that is needed. Two highlights here is the ability to authenticate different stakeholders that are exchanging information, and discoverability of services. Again, if a vessel is coming into a port for the first time, it wants to discover, it wants to find a service that gives information about the positioning of a berth, for instance. It needs to be able to find that information, and it needs to be able to authenticate where the information is coming from. Is it in fact coming from the port that it is moving towards, or is it coming from somebody else that may be trying to send some harmful information? The vessel giving information, for instance, reporting, also needs to authenticate itself so that the authorities receiving the report knows that this report is in fact coming from the vessel that is stating who it is. So these are elements that we need in addition to the technical services. So this needs to be provided by some kind of platform for digitalization. And of course, from my perspective, the answer here could be the Maritime Connectivity Platform, the MCP. So my point here is we are doing a lot of work in data harmonization, which is good. This is something we need. We need a bigger focus on developing technical services so that these data that we are creating data models from can actually be exchanged between stakeholders. And then we need a digital platform like the MCP to provide authentication and service discoverability. Thank you.